I'm going to walk you through what my actual morning routine looks like. And I want you to know upfront, this is not impressive, but it is the reason that I'm currently somewhat sane. And this is what mine actually looks like with 5 kiddos at home that I homeschool, running a growing business, running on no sleep. And I'm just going to give you the honest breakdown of what my morning routine is and what it no longer is and what I gave up to give me back my sanity and my productivity during the day and to make me feel like a human again. So let's jump into it. I'm Liz. I homeschool a small army of kids, all of which happen to be mine. I run a business and I advise founders and entrepreneurs who want a business that gives more than it takes, and they want to step confidently into their big next, their calling, with their integrity and their family and their values intact. Let me set the scene for you because, I just gave birth to our 6th little baby who loves to throw a rager between the hours of about midnight and 6 a.m. So I am not sleeping. I'm nursing around the clock. I'm up all night. So I'm sharing my morning routine from the trenches and painting a picture that's very accurate and true to the season of life I'm in right now. So you take it, put it through your own filter. But I had to do that for myself because for years I had the morning routine. It was 2 hours long. It had a really intense workout in there. It had the whole shebang. I was in the sauna. I was doing all the things like we see prescribed to us on the internet. But I was failing my own system before the sun even came up. And I felt behind before anyone was even yelling mom or shouting at me in Slack, needing something from me, or clients reaching out. I just always felt behind because it just wasn't sustainable to me in the season I was in. So if you're that type who can't get up at 4 a.m. and cold plunge their way to their next billion, and instead you want a sustainable process that's going to work for you and your family and your reality, and you want to reconcile that ambition you have with what God has gifted you in this season, I'm just going to share, pull back the curtain. Like I said, I just am hitting record here after I just came out of my morning routine because it's fresh in my mind. I'm just going to paint a picture, take what works, leave what doesn't. That's kind of the whole point. This isn't like a perfectly prescribed template. This is a, hey, you get to break the rules and it might bear a lot of fruit for you like it has for me. If I could go back in time, I wish someone would have whispered this in my exhausted ear many moons ago. Hey, Liz, is it at all possible that your morning routine is working against you? Not because it's like inherently bad or anything, but because you're borrowing it from someone else that isn't in the same season of life as you, right? I was copying someone else's morning routine and wondering why it wasn't producing for me or making me come alive or really supporting me in the day that I had ahead. And it just wasn't fitting my life. I had really bad math in that season that I was using my only solo hours, okay? I'm a mom of a lot of young kids. We homeschool, which comes with a very different way life operates, right? It's very nuanced. You're with your children all the time, minus when you have these blocks of time that maybe somebody else is stepping in so that you can get something done. But my kids are home. So I was giving up those only solo hours before they got up and doing things that I could do alongside my kids. And then I was saving the things that only I can do alone, right? Like think and write and pray with like a ton of intentionality and set my intention for the day and really visualize. I was giving up those things that only I can do alone. I was saving them for hours when I had my kids alongside me, and I was wondering why I was feeling just totally out of whack. So that was just dumb. And I've really shifted the way I do things. I am not a spring chicken anymore. Okay, folks, I am not 22 and I am not getting those rock solid 10 hours of sleep I used to get. And I am not the most optimized vessel at the moment because of the stage of life I'm in. So I don't get up and do a high intensity, like a HIIT training workout anymore, first thing in the morning. My cortisol levels don't love that, right? They don't function well if I do that. So what I do now, it looks nothing like it used to, and it works oh so much better. You will not believe how much better it works for me. I'm going to paint a picture. I've got rules. I've got my own rules. I threw out the world's rules and I have my own. The first rule is nothing comes in. Here's what I mean. No phone, no computer, no audio. I don't listen to a podcast in the morning anymore. I don't look at news. That's old news. I haven't done that for a very long time. But I'm not bringing or consuming anything into my morning. And a lot of people start their day with consumption, even if it's good consumption, right? You're like, I'm listening to that podcast that's telling me how to make my next 7 figures, or I'm learning mindset tricks, or I'm becoming the next version of myself by listening to these episodes that are helping me grow, or this book on Audible or whatever. I do not start my day consuming. I start my day deciding. Okay. So let me explain that for a moment. Your nervous system, my nervous system is the most, honest qualifier metric thing that is going to give you a clear indicator of where you're at. And if you're flooding it with noise before you even ask yourself what you think, you're doing a couple things. You're robbing yourself of your most creative self, okay? Because even if it's really quality content, right? You are now consuming and taking in someone else's ideas first, instead of connecting with the Holy Spirit and saying, hey, what do you have for me today? How are you using me as a vessel? What do you want to pop up here? What do you want me to think? What do you want me to know? What do you want me to believe? What do you want me to focus on? So I've really learned, okay, I don't do that first thing. So that's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is I pray before I come up with my plan, because then it's not my plan. Newsflash, God's plans are always better than my plans. I try time and time again, as the ambitious entrepreneur that I am, to think that my plans are someday going to just like match up to his and be like, God, look, here are my plans. Don't you think they're great? Put your stamp of approval. Like, you want to notarize this for me? And he's like, yeah, actually, I have a curveball for you. So what I've learned to do instead is to co-author my day with God. And really, he's the author, right? Like, I'm a ghostwriter in this whole thing, but I do that usually when I wake up in the morning. Full transparency. I was going to say a vegetable, but that's insulting vegetables everywhere. I am a step beneath a vegetable. I am so tired and so mush-brained that, because I'm sleeping so very little, that if I sit down and I just try to pray, especially with ADHD, do you know where my brain goes? I am a ping pong ball. Are there electronic ping pong balls? I'm an electronic ping pong ball. Just picture it just like incessantly bouncing around from corner. I do not have any focus or ability to put my brain where it needs to be in order to praise or be in gratitude or ask for guidance. So what I do is I use a prayer journal. I have a very specific prayer journal and process that I use, because I am just wildly incapable of staying between the riverbanks and not going up over the edges. And that's been so helpful for me, because before it felt like I was trying to pray first, but it was super scattered. I felt like I wasn't connecting. I felt like I wasn't able to hear what God had for me. I wasn't even able to like bring cohesive thoughts to the table. And that has been just life altering to say, hey, yes, prayer is going to go where it's going to go, but here's just some like riverbanks to guide you. Here's something to help you extract the prayers that are actually on your heart and stay a little bit focused. So on those mornings, I'm just so sleep deprived and I can't form an actual thought, let alone a prayer. This journal just gives me rails. And when my brain has nothing, it helps really cultivate that connection with God by asking the right questions of Him, by sharing the gratitude that I actually have for tangible and intangible things I have in my life, asking for guidance, asking, hey, what do you want me to see today? Who do you want me to tune into? Who needs me? And how do you want to use me for that person? Just really letting God architect my day, but I'm there to just extract and excavate all the things that maybe I should ask or bring to the table so that I can hear where He's guiding me. So prayer journal. You might not be that way. Like, you might actually sleep, go figure, during the night. If that's you, you might not need a prayer journal, but for me, the prayer journal has really helped. It just keeps me focused on the right scripture, focused on the right questions, the right things to just bring to the table in that prayer time. I want to emphasize one quick point, because I am, and like you, probably discipline is not a major issue, right? Like, I can be very disciplined, probably to a fault. But the issue was, for me, there are times where I am very human and I'm just going through it. And I don't wanna, I'm like a little kid laying on the ground being like, I don't wanna pray. I don't wanna get up right now. I'm tired. So discipline isn't going to get me there. And that's why I default to a system to help support me in the days where my discipline is just not enough. So that just might be something you need to consider when you think of morning routines. If you want to just hit the snooze, or you don't even want to set the alarm in the first place, or you just end up getting up with the kids, this has been the single biggest difference maker in my life right now. Not a workout, not a, cold plunge, not a supplement stack. It's the prayer journal. Like, that's when the discipline just isn't working anymore, and I need something that's going to guide me. Now, rule number 3, write before you work. Right before you work. Okay. So writing before I go into any kind of reacting is huge for me. And I don't necessarily mean strategic writing, right? I'm not signing into my Asana or whatever, project management system you use and saying, oh, what's on my, work plate today that I have to write, right? That Substack post or that piece I'm editing in the book or whatever. I'm talking the visionary writing, the 30,000 foot writing, the what has God through prayer inspired you to write. And the reason I say write, and I mean pen to paper write, not pull out a computer and look at blue light write or get distracted by all the things pinging on your computer write. There is a transformative process that happens in using your hands and your brain in congruence to get these thoughts out and cultivate these thoughts. It's a habit that I've developed that's been incredibly helpful for my more broad writing, right? Like of the book, of things like Substack, of content for YouTube for my clients. But it's also really helpful in the visionary work. Like, what am I being called to, right? What came up in prayer today? What do I need to say before I look at what I need to do, right? Like, who am I called to be right now? What are the dark corners of my life I'm shining a light into and breathing life back into just dry bones in certain categories of my life? And this is where my best content comes from. And it's not because I sit down and I say, what content am I creating today? It's just because this is truly me. Like, this is what is pouring out of me in this moment. And when you get in a habit of doing that every day, even if it's 4 minutes, even if you don't particularly like to write, even if your hand gets tired like mine does, there is something that happens. You become a writer, right? Like, you become a visionary, a thought leader. You start to learn how to extract the best of you and capture it and file it in a way that it can be used and leveraged for good in frameworks and stories and ideas, in how you mentor and what you put out into the world and how you teach your children, in the conversations you have. It is so transformative, and it's not to be taken lightly. And this is a habit I've developed that has been so profound for me. I learned it initially many years ago from my mentor, who then became a friend, who then became a client of mine, John Maxwell, who's an absolute goat when it comes to writing. But one of the key things he said he did every single day was he sat down and he wrote his own thoughts, not someone else's, and then he filed them under, like, okay, I just wrote on faith. I'm going to kind of put that in the tab of faith work so that I can pull from it when I write books, when I speak on stages, when I create video content, whatever it might be. So that writing has been really, really huge for me. And I do that in the morning, even if I'm tired. And by the way, I do my morning routine pre-caffeine. I know that sounds cray-cray when you're way tired, but the reason I do that, there are some health reasons. I like to delay my caffeine because that helps me with my cortisol levels and adrenals, and it doesn't make me crash during the day, later in the day. The other reason is my body has been trained to kind of like wake itself up, almost utilizing these pieces of my morning routine as rejuvenation, as a form of, just enhancing my brain and waking me up and pulling me into this. And I'm excited to do that. So there's a little bit of adrenaline or dopamine, or I don't know, I'm not a neuroscientist, but that comes to the table for me when I do this work because I'm anticipating it and I like it and I come to life. I'm not telling you have to do it pre-caffeine. If you really need something to just give you that spark, sometimes I'll take like one sip and that's just enough to get me into this really clear-headed space. Do what you got to do, but I'm just sharing, again, what works for me. Put it through your own filter. This is capturing all of your thoughts before the noise starts. Noise of the family, noise of the outside world. So writing before you open that to-do list and even are aware of what you have on your plate is huge. And I think this is a big one for me, is I often wake up with this like weight of all the stuff I have to get done and the stress and the pressures of the day, or I have a bunch of appointments for the kids, or I have to do this in their homeschooling, or, oh my gosh, I forgot to call this person and let them know I got to change the time. Like whatever is on my to-do list professionally or personally with the family, that can really weigh on me. I've become really good at saying that can wait until all of this is done, so that my writing isn't diluted by the chaos that will ensue when you have a lot of kids and a life and a business and all the things. And that to-do list will scream a lot louder. So before I open the door and listen to it screaming, keep that door shut, stay laser focused here. Another rule I live by is I read. Now, reading is different than passively listening to a podcast, okay? After I pray, after I capture my own thoughts, then I read for who I'm becoming, right? Not what I'm doing, but who I'm becoming in that season. So right now I'm in a season of, I just came out of, postpartum, kind of still in it, breastfeeding around the clock, exhausted, have streamlined my business to make more space for family, soon going into a season of the year. We travel a lot more as a family. I'm a lot more present, working less. That's a very intentional time for me. I don't pick up the business book about how to 10x my life in that season because there's this lack of congruence that just butts heads with each other. And it feels really bad because I'm reading and getting inspired about something that I'm not able to step into and become right now. And I'm not meant to become. So instead, I'm picking up the book that is going to keep my mind aimed at the person that I'm becoming, right? If I'm in a season of postpartum and slowing down and being more present, I'm not ramping up in my business right now. I'm very intentionally streamlining and sustaining. Then I'm picking up the books that are about pruning in my life or eliminating worry and stress and hurry in my life, right? About being a really present parent. Right now, I'm reading a book called Second Mountain by David Brooks. Excellent book. Not about like being at the pinnacle of and most profitable in your career. It's about, what is your purpose and your calling as you're stepping into this next season? That's huge for me because that's where I am. That's who I'm called to be right now. So read for who you're called to become right now so that you're scaffolding this season with intentionality and not accidentally pulling your focus to a place where you're not meant to be. I'm not going to pick up the book on homesteading right now because we've intentionally said keeping children alive is sufficient for us in this season. We're not going to try to keep chickens and vegetables and whatever else alive right now too, because that feels stressful to me. And I get really excited about doing something like that, but I don't want to read about it because then I have to feel like, that's not who I'm becoming right now. I'm not becoming the gardener, right? I'm the mother and I'm the advisor for my clients. So I'm going to stay in that place. You become what you consume before 8 a.m. There's something about that. Like if you consume that stressful email from the client who's complaining about something, you become that stressed out person and business owner who has to react, right? If you consume that thing on social media that triggers something in you that makes you shift your focus off of your path, that's who you become. So you have to be very careful about what you consume. Now, the other thing is I don't put a lot of pressure on reading a ton. I'm like, I just need a little bit. I just need a little bit to get me like moving forward towards who I'm called to be. And I'm consuming what's going to support that. Now, another key rule for me is I envision the day before I live it out. And I'm not good with like actually picturing a vision in my mind. So I use a whiteboard for this. Like I write out what it looks like to be intentional based on what's coming down the pike that day or that week. And then I cross-check it with my plan because if I get all jazzed about like all the stuff I want to accomplish in my business, but my whole day is this particular day, I'm taking the day off from work and I'm focused on homeschool and we're taking a field trip today. That's going to feel really out of whack for me. It's going to feel ugly. Like it's going to feel like I'm behind or I don't have the capacity to do what I'm focused on. So I really cast the vision for the specific day ahead. Anything on my plan that doesn't match the vision, it gets moved, it gets delegated, it gets snuffed out. So before the day even starts, not at the end of the day when I'm exhausted and I'm like survival mode at that point, I'm auditing and planning for that intentionality right from the jump. I think a lot of people, if they audit their day at all, it's at 10 p.m. when it's too late. I want it 6 a.m. when I can still change it, when I can still pivot, when I can still really get myself, like if I wake up in a mood, do you ever just like wake up in a mood? I don't, but I'm asking for a friend. If you ever wake up in a mood and you're like, I really need to use this time to get out of this mood. Who do I need to be right now to show up best for my spouse, my kids, my clients, my business, my calling? And then I'm leveraging that time really intentionally to become that person. Another key thing, and this is something I'm learning as a 38-year-old. I mean, really, I wish I knew this when I was like 10 and it just was natural for me. But it's about just really regulating myself before I lead. I'm in a leadership role all day with my children and homeschooling, and then with my clients and in my business and in my work. If I come to the table and I'm like, I'm going to white knuckle this day, I'm exhausted, I'm depleted, I'm irritated, I'm frustrated, I'm focused on all the lack and the gap. And then I'm like, but I can do it. I can show up making it look like I'm mom of the year and like advisor who knows all. That's a problem. That's a problem. So I need to make sure that I'm focused on like, not just who I need to be, but who I am. Do I need to check myself? Do I need to take some deep breaths? Do I need to go for a quick walk? Do I need to take a 5 or 10 minute sauna just to like regulate my nervous system? Do I need to do something, stretch, something that's going to make my nervous system chill out for a minute? So I'm not coming in like a rubber band about to snap. It's also part of the reason why I delay caffeine, because as much as caffeine helps me focus with my ADHD brain, it also jacks me up, right? Like, and if I'm already anxious about something, it makes me more stressed and I'm not well regulated. So when I'm walking into my house of 7 people who are all going to need something from me, if my nervous system is completely dysregulated and I'm a disaster, I'm not leading, right? I am just reacting, and they're going to feel it and I'm going to feel it. And you really can't pour into your kids well from this dysregulated state because they feel it. You might be able to pull one over on some of your clients if you have like an hour call and you're like, I've got to just keep it together for 60 minutes and make myself appear one way. Your kids are different. They're very in tune with you. And being calm, it's not like that would be nice. It is a must. It is a leadership tool. This part, you're going to want to lean in for this. I want to tell you why the old routine failed me and why this one works now. And if you don't take anything else from this conversation, take this. My old routine was about adding. We were doing addition, folks. We were more habits, more discipline, more optimization, right? More consumption. Now, on the flip side, my new routine is about stripping away. What do I need to remove and prune from my thinking, from my actions, from my schedule, from my focus before I step into my day, before I try and lead anything? That has been the crux of this whole thing. I always felt like more was the answer. If I consume more really great stuff, like I'm talking awesome stuff, I'm not talking about reality TV, I'm talking great content, then I will be great, right? Like I will be better. Or if I write more, if I get more done, if I'm more productive in my morning routine, then it will be better. If I have more habits that are really good, right? Like if I take the sauna and I cold plunge and I go for a walk and I get a workout in, and then to do those things, I have to be more disciplined, and to be more disciplined and get those things done, I have to be more streamlined and more optimized. It was about more. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, how do I just make space? How do I make space to just make sure I am calm? I am hearing God in my life. I am consuming only the littlest bit of what is going to keep me on the straight and narrow in alignment with that calling, only after I capture my thoughts, right? That have been like kind of just downloaded after that prayer. That's it. Simple, streamlined. And maybe it's just me like knowing I have so many plates spinning right now, but you don't have to have a buttload of kids and homeschool and run a business to benefit from less, because if it's the right less, it will take you so much further anyway. I feel like for parents, and especially entrepreneurial parents, this productivity culture that I was very bought into is just kind of a scam. You don't need to perfectly optimize your morning. Protect it. Just protect your morning. The super impressive morning routine was like so performative for me, and it never quite felt right. And it worked great for that guy or that girl, but it wasn't doing anything but making me feel behind before the sun was even all the way up. This super boring process is so congruent for me. And that morning routine for you, although it might not look the same because this is not a prescriptive thing, this is me saying, hey, you're allowed to break the rules. That morning routine should change when your life changes, right? I'm telling you what's working for me right now. Talk to me in a few months. It might be totally different. And if it hasn't, it's just like this stubbornness of like, I have to do what looks and sounds impressive. And if that morning routine makes you feel like you're losing before the day begins, right? That routine is an issue. So I want to hear, drop in the comments, do you have specific things that you've cut out or added in or decided like, I need to quit doing this when it comes to how you start your day? Anything that you want to be held accountable for, or me to pray for you, to let go of, to bring in, to hear, any of that, I'm always willing, because I know it can be hard and you don't have to go it alone. But I just wanted to make sure you hear me when I tell you there is no one size fits all. Your family, your calling, your vision for your life, your goals in this season, your health, right? All of it, your business, it requires you to put all of it through your own filter and come up with what is most congruent and most aligned for you and the life that you're called to live right now. And you're allowed to change your mind. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe. There's more coming. I want to have more conversations like this that help you tweak your way to victory in your business and in your life. Oh, one more thing. You are leading right now from feeling like you're just strong-arming everything. Like it's sheer will and force, and not just from your calling, and that you're not in your sweet spot, and that you're not more profitable than you've ever been. I have a free quiz. It's 6-minute mirror into how you were meant to lead and grow and scale without sacrificing what matters most. You're going to have so much freaking clarity over this. It is our leadership style quiz. Go to luminaryleadershipco.com/style, or just go to the description. You can grab it there. It's going to transform your life and your business.